We are live. We are live. We are live. And if you can hear me, please drop a note in our Q&A box to make sure that we are on. I'm Digital Dealer's James Hickey, and I'm glad to be partnering with NETSOL Technologies for today's webinar titled Bridging the Retail Gap, where dealers really want from digital retailing. We are joined today by NETSOL's Adam Bruttell and Michael Gaiter, General Manager for Hoover Auto Group. As digital retail adoption accelerates, a critical challenge has emerged: the significant misalignment between technology solutions and the day-to-day operational realities of the dealership. Too often, current tools add layers of complexity rather than delivering the transparency dealers require. Adam and Michael will detail how to build tools that support, not disrupt, your sales process in this webinar today. For those who may be new to the Digital Dealer, welcome. Digital Dealer is an online media company publishing daily news, a weekly email newsletter, insights from industry experts like Adam and Michael, and a rich menu of additional resources, including webinars like this one. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to our weekly newsletter by signing up at the Digital Dealer website. And during and after today's session, please follow along and share your thoughts and feedback on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn social media accounts. All of our links and handles are on your screen right now. I want to mention that Digital Dealers Conference and Expo is on the move this year, set to take place in Detroit, Michigan, September 22nd and 23rd at Huntington Place. Detroit is the center of automotive innovation and the future of the industry. By bringing the event to a modern venue built for learning, demos, and deal making, we're creating an experience that delivers more opportunities and dealership growth than ever before. We can't wait to see new and returning dealers, vendors, and innovators from across the country in Detroit this year. Now let's take a quick look at the platform we're going to be using today. The On24 console that you're looking at right now can be completely customized. You can move and resize windows, making the video or slides larger or smaller as is your want. You'll also find an array of interactive tools in this experience. In the toolbar, you will see a media player button for your video and volume, a Q&A box. This is the widget where you can submit your questions, located at the top right of your screen, and we will get to as many of those as we can at the end of this presentation. A resource list that you can click through to download the slides and related resources provided by our friends at NETSOL. Perhaps most important is the survey icon, where you can share your feedback at any point during the session. Your input is extremely important to us, and before logging off today, please take a moment to share your thoughts to help us improve our future events. If you have any follow-up questions or need help with your experience, just send in a question in the Q&A box or press the help icon to get further guidance. Before we kick off the conversation, I just want to share a little bit about our speakers, Adam Bruttell and Michael Gaiter. Adam serves as the National Sales Director for the Americas at NETSOL Technologies, a global leader in digital retail and finance solutions for the automotive industry. With more than 20 years of experience in automotive, fintech, and connected technology, Adam has helped OEMs, lenders, and dealer group modernize their retail operations and deliver exceptional customer experiences. He's passionate about using innovative and process-driven strategy to help partners scale efficiently and profitably in today's evolving market. And Michael Gaiter is the General Manager at Hoover Auto Group. In this leadership role, Michael oversees the dealership's sales operations, working closely with the sales teams to ensure a streamlined and customer-centric car buying experience. I thank you for your time, and with that, I hand it over to Adam and Michael.
Great to be on, guys. I know it's month end, so Michael, thanks for being on as we're pushing to get sales, and then real excited about NADA next year, right? Our next month, right? So excited to see everybody at NADA next month, and Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So the agenda, we're going to do a poll, right? Then we're going to talk about retail reality gap, dealer challenges, the dealership excellence playbook, and then we're going to end with some QA. A little bit about NETSOL. So we cut our teeth on captive lending, right? So NETSOL has been around 30 years, right? We're not new to the game. We have, as you can see, we've touched every brand in the industry. We've rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange 6 times. We just did that a couple of weeks ago. I think what makes us unusual too is we're one of the few automotive technology companies that's a public company. I think that's why the NASDAQ likes us keep coming there. But we definitely have a pulse on the auto industry with our history, and we got into digital retail about 6 years ago. Some of the areas are finance, retail is what we're talking about today, marketplace, and then our AI labs are some of the verticals that we service the dealers. Right now, we're going to start with the poll, guys. So where does your buying journey break down most often? So we have online to showroom handoff, pricing, payments, change between steps, frequent reentry between sales, desking, and F&I. Too many steps before a customer can say yes or other. So I'll kind of wait as the polls come in, guys, and then I'd love to hear, Michael, which one kind of resonates with you at Hoover right now?
I definitely would say C. It's a lot of redundancies and a lot of sales process. When you talk to a lot of guys about why, usually the answer is because that's just always how we've done it. So definitely C.
Great, yeah. I would think that would be big. I think, also too many steps, I think that's something that NETSOL prides itself on too, is like how can you eliminate the steps and get faster closing a deal? So we'll look at some of, the polling. It seems like, right now, 33%, kind of a tie between kind of what we both said, right, Michael? Frequently reentry between sales, desking, and F&I, and too many steps. So, I think people are kind of looking for
together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of those redundancies in the process create a bunch of steps, and a lot of steps can be taken out of the sales process. When I started selling cars, you get handed, hey, here's your steps to the sale, right? And we always do it because that's what we've always done, but without even really having the customer's interest in mind. So I definitely see those two as being the top answers.
That's good. And I think this year there's a lot of technology to help. I think everybody's been saying that, oh yeah, technology, it's coming. But I think this year it really is, Michael. I think there's a lot of choices out there on how to make those 2 steps faster. So we'll kind of talk about that today. The first one, what is the retail reality gap? So when we talk about the retail reality gap, we are talking about the growing disconnect between customer expectations and dealership operations. Today's buyers are shaped by Amazon, fintech, and digital banking, not by other dealerships. Meanwhile, many dealer processes are still constrained by legacy systems and manual workflows. That gap shows up as delays, inconsistent pricing, and confusion during the deal. And once trust starts to break down, deals fall apart, and the reality is the gap isn't shrinking, it's widening. So I don't know if you've seen that, Michael, right? Everybody's, on their phone, they're purchasing stuff, they want the desktop, to have the same experience as the mobile phone in your iPad, right? And so everybody's used to that instant gratification. And so it's like, how are dealers able to kind of keep up with that expectations out there can be tough sometimes. Why is the gap expanding? Customers now expect speed, personalization, and low friction as the baseline. They're not comparing their experience to dealerships down the street. They're comparing it to Amazon and digital banking at the same time. AI is accelerating how people shop. And I know I'm seeing that from my dealers. Buyers are more informed, more confident, and more decisive than ever, which means slower manual processes frustrate them faster. Now layer in affordability. So I was just, reading an article in Automotive News, right, that the average purchase price for a vehicle is $44,000 with an average monthly price of $772. Used vehicles, 30,000 with an average price of 570. And which is getting kind of scary as, you know, the average loan is 69 months. And 20% of new buyers, their payments over $1,000, and 7% of existing customers. Is that what you're seeing out in the field, Michael? Just, people being, a little bit stressed by payments and longer terms?
Yeah, you're definitely seeing increases in payments. I mean, the cost of the product is going up, right? The demand for more technology, obviously, the cars have to be safer, or there's an expectation for the cars to be safer. So the price points are steady going up, which, I just had a meeting, manufacturer meeting last week, and that was one of the things that we talked about. Obviously, tariffs kind of have an impact on that. So we're looking at another price increase to some of our core models next year, and customers aren't necessarily ready for that, but it's already here,
Yeah, I thought we were past the tariffs, and this morning I hear, Trump, with South Korea, so Hyundai, so it's not going away.
It's a very real thing.
Yes, it is. It is. So hopefully we can get some consistency, right? So we can make better decisions. But, how do you bridge the gap? Bridging this gap doesn't mean sacrificing margin. It means aligning customer expectations with dealership operations. Customers want speed, clarity, personalization. Dealers need compliance, efficiency, and profitability. Technology has to support how dealers actually work. That's exactly where NETSOL fits, connecting expectations with operational reality. So I think one of the things that we do really well is we have a customizable product, right? And so, when it comes to getting leads, if you want a lead gate that, really, you want higher quality leads, we can do that. If you want more of a payment calculator, we can do that. Customers want something that they can trust. So when they start the online experience, they want to be able to go into your Hoover store, Michael, and make sure that information matches, right? And also that your sales team has the right data to build those relationships. So those are things that technology is doing for dealerships. Speed and efficiency, always in sales, right? Speed kills deals. You need speed, but also you need to be efficient. Speed and efficiency breaks down when accuracy, data flow, and F&I aren't aligned. Pricing integrity is critical to trust. Customers may accept a price they don't love, but they will not accept price changes. The moment you have to backpedal, confidence drops. Real-time accuracy protects gross while enabling transparency. And when incentives and add-ons are right the first time, renegotiation disappears. This problem isn't a lack of data, it's how data moves. Too many tools create complexity, not efficiencies. Manual eventually slows deals and introduces errors. Like what I like to say is, another damn dashboard doesn't fix that, right? Real efficiencies comes from CRM and DMS integrations where data moves automatically without manual entry through one connected workflow. So, our product and, really services where, you have your iPad and the customer is on their couch, right? And they're entering that information and they want to be able to go into the dealership and make sure that those financing rates and those F&I products and the stuff that they were looking at transfers to Michael's salespeople, right? They're already upset about paying over $1,000 payment, right? And paying, close to $50,000 for that vehicle. So once they start seeing different financing options, or it wasn't the F&I products that they selected, they could be frustrated. So I don't know, Michael, if you can talk to a little bit about how do you gain trust with your customers, and how do you make sure they're not frustrated with the whole buying experience at your store?
First thing was, like you said, is your information has to be accurate. I see a lot of payment calculators and stuff like that, yeah, they seem quick, they seem easy to use. But when the customer gets into the showroom, then the numbers have to be modified or they don't necessarily match. You lose trust right off the bat. So transparency is key. But then two, they have to have the ability to access that information without having to, give you their firstborn child, right? And like you talked about the lead gate, and I know that was one of the discussions that I had with your team with the lead gate. Hey, let's try it out this way, and we saw that, hey, you know what, we were asking for too much information before the customer could get what they want, so we were able to modify that, and we got much better, higher quality leads, right? And so, and then customers started giving us their information anyways because that trust was there that, hey, I could get information without having to give you everything, right? So, and then when they come in, you have to be able to pick up right where they left off and, not make the customer start the process over again. And I think that's a lot of people's fears is when I get to the dealership, I've got to start over. I've got to spend 2 to 3 hours here. And frankly, people don't have the time or they don't have the capacity for it anymore because we're in a time of, like you said, instant gratification.
Yep, exactly, Michael. I agree. And then, just expounding on speed and efficiency, speed wins at every stage of the deal. Responding within 5 minutes dramatically increases conversions and prevents shoppers from moving on. The first response sets the tone for the entire experience, and automation ensures no lead is missed. The retail gap often widens while customers wait. Waiting creates doubt and second guessing. With digital data, first pencil can be delivered in under 2 minutes. Faster pencils reduce objections, keeps buyers engaged, and directly impacts close rates. Momentum can be lost quickly when teams wait on callbacks. Customers expect near instant answers. API-driven decision delivers that speed, increasing confidence and keeps sales teams in control. Every handoff also introduces risk, manual data, entry waste time that should be spent building rapport. Clean, fast handoffs reduce errors, create alignment across teams, and result in smoother, more professional deals from first contact to funding. And I think that's exactly what you described, right, Michael? So it's good to, with your technology partners, that all your systems are integrating, that they're flowing, that the salesperson is not going back and forth continually between F&I, giving the customer wrong data. And I think that's what you were saying earlier. All right, transparency, trust as a baseline. Trust has to exist at the start of the journey, not the end. Transparency is expecting pricing, data, and terms. Any lack of clarity erodes trust immediately. Customers want visibility from first click to final signature, unified, auditable workflows that build confidence. So kind of the same theme that we've been talking about. And transparency builds trust. So this is an example of a report that we have, Active Shopper. Active Shopper signals intent in real time. Early engagement leads to better outcomes. Sales advisors should guide, not chase. Asking the right questions shortens the journey and builds rapport. When dealers can see exactly where a buyer started and ended their journey, that insight becomes powerful and proof true to intent, right? So, how powerful is it when you're able to get that lead and you're desking that deal to see exactly where that customer was in their journey, right? Which F&I products did they buy, right? What loan terms were they looking at? And you can see this report kind of shows the green kind of, where they touched in the customer journey. And Michael, I'd love to hear kind of what are kind of different information that you guys find valuable to know before the customer comes in so you can position that vehicle for them.
I want to know everything that they did online, right? I want to know if they got a number on their trade. I want to know what financing terms they looked at, what down payment options they were considering, what finance products they were considering. And the reason is obviously we're salespeople, right? So what I'll see a lot of the times is that customer will input their trade in because they want to see what their deal looks like with a trade. And maybe, whatever tool we use to evaluate that trade may not give them the money they were looking for. So they turn around and they remove it. Well, I know that, hey, I want to capture that trade, or I've got a better chance of capturing that deal if I can get the trade. So being able to see that that's what happened, that I can go in there and I can capture that deal. Or I'll have customers who had that same scenario. They put in that trade. They didn't necessarily like the number. They took it out. Maybe they're not the most responsive customer. So we're a little more proactive and we say, hey, you know what? I noticed they hit you pretty light on your trade-in. I think it's worth some more money. When can we get together and let's do a professional appraisal on it? Oh yeah, and they'll tell you, oh no, I love your price. If I can get extra my trade, then we have a deal. And so all you did was you took that customer, you worked them all the way back down through the funnel, and you made it a lot easier process when you do get them into the showroom. So as much information as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. And I think this is probably one of the most powerful reports that we have, and our customers really love to have this information when they come into their showroom. All right, kind of the battle of, does more leads equal more sales, right? More leads don't dramatically mean more buyers. In many cases, lead volume just adds noise. What actually matters is intent. High intent buyers convert at a higher rate. Profit comes from guiding real buyers, not just chasing forms. The retail journey is to convert buyers, not raw lead volume. So, I think definitely you can empathize with that. And I think it's a science that you're always trying to battle with, right, Michael, of like you're talking about, like how restrictive do you make it? I feel like majority of the dealers that I deal with really appreciate kind of like what you said, just, less information, but not just people looking at a payment calculator, people that actually are willing to at least provide, an email address, and then that information off that report that I just gave, right? Because, your time's valuable. You don't want to be chasing a lot of leads that people were just, looking at a payment calculator. You want to see that, were they looking to finance? Were they looking at F&I products? So I feel like, you want more quality leads. Any thoughts on that?
But yeah, being able to have that data that you showed on last report, it shows you which one that customer is, right? It shows you how far down the funnel they are. If you've got a customer that's, not only getting an estimate on payments, but getting a number on a trade, looking at F&I products, that's a very, very low funnel customer. And that customer is ready to transact versus that customer who's simply looking at payments via payment calculator.
Those are my thoughts as well. And then the playbook, I think this is, Michael, you're going through this relatively new at Hoover, right? You're implementing your playbook. So I'm sure that this really resonates with you. So excellence today means true omni-channel. Customers move between online and in-store at their own pace. AI enables 24/7 engagement without losing the human touch. Visibility must go beyond units sold to include engagement, lead quality, and loyalty. Proactive offers strengthen relationships between the service visits. Data-driven inventory optimization improves margin. And scale allows dealer groups to share expertise across rooftops. So, I know as a sales leader and you being a GM, the information that you crave is the data, right? As a sales leader and GM, you need to be strategic, right? Also, you're getting a lot of new salespeople. I think there's a lot of turnover traditionally in the automotive industry, right? So how can you utilize AI and how can you utilize your technical partners out there to arm you with the correct information that you can make swift decisions, right? And not spend a lot of time training people. So we'd just love to hear a little bit about your playbook and things that, you're implementing and how you've been successful.
So the overall philosophy of what myself and my team, we want to make it so easy to buy a car that you almost can't not buy from us. We're going to do everything pretty much the opposite of what other dealers are doing. We're going to give customers, we're going to give them information. We're not going to create friction. We're going to be friendly. We're not going to play games back and forth, because at the end of the day, we understand that, hey, we're not for everybody. We're not going to sell in everybody, right? So if we make it easy for people to do business and we're transparent, like you talked about trust, and we get that trust, we earn their trust by trusting them up front, right? We're going to get more customers. When you talk about feedback, one of my things is I'm going to talk to customers. I can't help it. I love to talk and I love people. I talk to customers in the showroom all day, every day. And the ones that do purchase, and sometimes even the ones that don't purchase, I'll pick up the phone just looking for feedback. And, I'm getting that a lot, that, man, you guys were so nice. You guys were so friendly. Man, you guys made it so easy. What made you choose us instead of, ABC Motors? Man, it was so easy, and you guys treated us right. And, when we talk about the data piece, I share some of that data with our customers. I'll show them, hey, look, this is the information that we got. This is what you did before you got here. And we'll sit down with them and we'll have a conversation when we start and say, hey, is this where you want to pick up at? This is what you did online. Do we need to revisit any of this stuff, or do you want to move on to the next step? But being transparent with them about the process too, not just pricing, man, it gets you a lot of buy-in from the customer. And that's the overall goal.
Yeah, I love that, Michael. I think that's called too, what you're describing just as a GM, is servant leadership, and you going out there and rolling your sleeves up with your team and knowing exactly what's going on. And I think that's what's made you successful. So that's great to hear. AI is probably the biggest topic. I think most of the shows that I'm going to, that's all they want to talk about, Michael, right? And I don't think we've had it figured out, but it's moving rapidly, right? When I'm visiting dealerships, they're testing agentic agents. Is her name going to be Veronica? Is it going to be Sally? The service drive. How can I, utilize my service drive? How can I record conversations, right? And listen to my sales team and my service people on are they doing the best, right? With us, it's, how can I recommend the best F&I products through AI, right? How can we effectively, use co-browsing? I know you're in Atlanta, I'm in Dallas, Michael, and what a great time to have an online product that the person can buy a vehicle sitting at home right now, right? I mean, I have a lot of customers too in Louisville. In Louisville, they are salespeople are at home, right? I know weather is bad when a dealer has people at home, right? So also, you never know. I mean, unfortunately, we don't go through another COVID or something like that. But, having AI to kind of learn and kind of do the omni-channel is very important. So I'll kind of pause and get your thoughts on that as well, Michael.
Yeah, it's not what's coming. It's here. And like you said, it's coming at a rapid pace. And I guess the best way to relate it would be, in 2020 and 2021, when we were all forced into digital retail, right? And I remember as far back as 2017, when going to conferences like Digital Dealer, NADA, and talking with vendors and talking to other, at that time I was a general sales manager, other GSMs and GMs about digital retail and what the opportunity was there and how it's coming and we better get ready. And then we were all forced into it. It's the same thing with AI. We just don't have a pandemic to make us do it because people are already using it. Especially, we always look at the big ones. I guess the biggest one would be Carvana. They've been using a lot of these AI tools for the last 5 or 6 years, and they've gotten very, very good at it. And then on the flip side, when we talk about just our business overall, over 90% of all search now is AI. So even if you Google something, you're going to get an AI response before you get the the never-ending links to sort through to try to find the answer that you're looking for. So it's something that you better jump on board with really fast. But also, I caution people, don't get AI happy and lose focus on the human interaction, because the people who do well at both are going to be the ones that do very well.
Exactly. Thank you, Michael. And then this, just some stats on the shift to online in 2030. Customers are completing more steps online every day, and dealers expect the behavior to accelerate. Stores that prepare now will be ahead when the shift hits full momentum. I think that's what you're talking about, Michael. Everyone lives on their phone. If your digital tools don't load fast, look good, and work perfectly on mobile, you'll lose customers before they ever walk in, right? So very important, like I said earlier, that the desktop, the phone, the iPad, everything, looks good. The digital influence on buying. Digital retailing is now expected, just like Michael said. 31% of consumers are open to buying fully online, which is surprising, and that jumps up to 44% among younger buyers. Digital confidence often determines whether a customer ever visits. Have you been able to tell the age demographics and how people have been behaving, Michael? Is that something you're sensing in your store?
Oh, 100%. And I have the last couple of years.
Yeah.
A lot of the younger generations, they're very non-confrontational. Whereas some of us, we're used to, hey, if we want something, we're either going to pick up the phone or we're going to drive down there and we're going to get it, or we're going to handle it or do whatever. And I was speaking with a really good friend of mine that I know from advertising, and he works for Verizon, and he talked about the shift in, he runs one of their national call centers, but he was talking about the shift in the people that call in for assistance to the people that use their chat. And it's increased, almost doubled over the last 24 months, because a lot of people, they don't want to sit on the phone. They don't want long hold times. They don't want to get tossed around from person to person. And it's easier for them to use that chat while they're doing other things. And I think that's the bigger component of it. So when we talk about digital retail and our customers, I don't think customers are opposed to going to the dealership. Customers are opposed to spending 3 hours at the dealership and possibly not accomplishing what they intend to accomplish. The younger guys.
There's only so much music and so much popcorn that you can make at a dealership.
Right.
Michael,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, we see a lot of our older customers that they'll have come in and they understand I'm going to be here for 3 hours. They're perfectly okay with it because they planned for it. They set out that time in their day. And then we have a lot of and I say not even just the younger, a lot of the more middle-aged to younger who are like, hey, I get off work at 6 o'clock. I don't want to spend my whole evening there. Can I get in? They'll ask you this question: can I get in and out in 30 minutes? And while I like to think we're really good, we're not quite that good yet. Hopefully, we will be one day. But that's what they're asking for, and that's coming from the customer's mouths.
Yeah, but I think people just, like we said, the Amazon effect, the low attention span and low patience for things not happening quickly, especially with technology. Closing the retail reality gap. Dealers don't need more tools. They need one connected retail workflow. Customers expect one continuous journey. Teams don't fail due to effort. They fail due to friction, and you talked about that friction earlier. When finance quietly accelerates deals and omnichannel turns into funded deals, the retail reality gap finally closes, right? So kind of that seamless omni-channel experience, right, where everything is flowing is very important. All right, well, that concludes. I think we're going to open it up for some Q&A.
We are. Thanks to Adam and Michael for such a great and informative session as we begin 2026. There were some things that really stood out to me. The first is the consumer expectations are not being driven from the experiences from dealer to dealer per se, but it's those online retailers and digital banking that's kind of now really impacting what's happening on the showroom. And then additionally, the generational divide, how that's impacting the buying journey, especially in the current marketplace with the growing impact of AI tools and chatbots. I think Michael said they've seen like a doubling of use of chatbots in the last 24 months because people want to be in and out and be informed when they actually go to a dealership. So I thought that was really illuminating. Yes, we did have some questions submitted while you were speaking, and we're going to get to them. The first one is, so when a customer builds a deal online, how often does it match what happens in the showroom?
Yeah, it should match perfectly. One of the things we kind of pride with our system is kind of what Michael was talking about, that the information that's entered online, and that could go into taxes too, right? You got to make sure that the taxes, you got to make sure that your dealer rebates, your incentives, everything is matching, right? So we take pride in all that information being accurate when it's sent to your CRM and desking tools.
Michael,
any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Michael, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's 100%. It's got to match. Otherwise, you put the ultimate friction in the process. And even for us, right now we've run into scenarios where maybe it doesn't match for whatever reason, at no fault to the customer or no fault to ours, right? But what we do is, hey, we take it on the chin. We're going to make sure it matches to keep the flow right and keep the customer experience high.
Okay. This next question was asked by several attendees in different forms and ways. How does your reporting help me desk deals faster?
Well, I think kind of what we talked about, right, is when you're getting the information of knowing what F&I products that they were looking at, what financing they were looking at, you can desk that deal a lot faster, and you're not starting over, and you're not asking all of those questions. So I feel that our product really helps you position it and close those deals a lot faster.
Cal Isaac has submitted a question. Because the real obstacles aren't technical, they're cultural. How do you overcome that? I'll start with you, Michael, on that.
You're 100% right. It's a cultural thing because it's outside of what we're used to, and it's something that I've spent the last pretty much 4 years having to fight. So I'll take. And for our digital retail customers or customers that originate from there, they're worked by a completely different set of people so that they have continuity when they do come in the showroom versus, hey, my BDC's calling these people, setting an appointment. Then they get here and meet a salesperson they never talked to. And then the salesperson, for lack of a better term, is jumbled, trying to figure out where the customer was in their journey. So they have a dedicated rep who that's their only job. They don't take ups on the floor. They don't make any cold calls, any of that stuff. They only work these customers, and they make sure that the experience is consistent from the time they start engage with, or the customer engages with us via the digital retail tool, all the way to
Mm-hmm.
putting their drive-off tag on and shaking their hand.
A follow up on the desk deals faster question. What does this tell me that I haven't already seen in my CRM?
Yeah, I think, and Michael can expound on this. And in the CRM, you're just getting the leads, right? But you're not going to get that active shopper report that really tells you kind of where they're at, right? So, you're just kind of starting with the lead, with the CRM, right? But you're not getting all of that enriched depth data that we provide. So I would say, you're not getting all the secret sauce on how to handle that deal if it's just going to the CRM.
Yeah,
Anything
usually
else on that?
CRM's only
Yeah.
yeah, usually CRM's only giving you the information that's pushed from when they originally submit the lead. The good thing about the tool is you're constantly receiving information as the customer is doing it. So 2 days after you get a lead into your CRM, you don't get any more data past that unless the customer physically tells you. With the tool, it's constantly collecting data and serving it up to you.
That is a good point, I think, is the information continually going back and forth, Michael. Any
Okay,
other questions?
Yep, we have time for one last question. Let me go with this one. How many online deals actually turn into sold units?
Yeah, it really depends. This is, a lot of dealers, it spans, right? Between if a dealer is kind of more on the customer, or they more, on the leads, so it depends. But I would just say as a stat, we did on average, we get about 20% of the lead traffic goes as a lead, right? So 20% of people who touch your website are going to go into our financing app, right? And then we're showing a conversion rate about 17%. A lot of that's going to depend, though, kind of on your website and what you're doing for marketing, right? We're optimizing your lead flow, but at some rough numbers, we're relatively about 20% online and 17% of those converting.
And a lot of the times, and I'm not sure if you specifically mean how many people do online end to end, but what you'll find is you have customers who are starting here, they're getting to a certain point that they're comfortable, then they might be jumping off and going into the dealership, right? So just them having the ability to do as much of it as they want to do online before they come to the store or at work or at home gives them a lot more confidence in coming to see you, because they're not worried about getting to the store and not being able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. We see, even though you don't have, we obviously the majority of our customers aren't transacting end to end online. We're seeing a lot of them who are starting there, getting to a point they're comfortable, and then it's making it easier to get those customers in for an appointment and finish their deal.
All right, Adam and Michael, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for. Oh, go ahead, Michael. Sorry, go ahead.
Cal kind of had a follow-up question, so I just wanted to hit that for him. But yeah, man, being a car guy, you're going to have people who don't want to adapt. Hey, don't make them do it. They can work the customers that are still just walking in the showroom, the traditional ups that are disappearing, and eventually they'll disappear too. So.
Thanks, Michael. I was just going to say, thanks for everybody attending. Thank you, Michael. We'll be at NADA. We'll be in the North Hall at booth 7213. Be able to stop by. We have a raffle going on for some Backstreet Boys. We have a $100 a demo. So if you just spend 15 minutes, we'd love to kind of show you the demo. But I'd love for you to kind of come by the booth. I'm real excited about NADA, especially last year being in the snow in New Orleans. I feel like there's a lot of built up excitement for this show. So I'm real excited. I hope I see all of you all there next week.
Great. Yes, hope to see you there too. Thanks again to Adam and Michael for such a great session. And thank you to all our attendees for taking the time to join us today. Just a reminder, we ask for everyone to click on the survey icon to share your feedback on the session. Your input is extremely important to us. So before logging off today, please take a moment to share your thoughts to help us improve our future events. If you joined us late or there was a section you took notes on, but you can't read your own handwriting, you're in luck. We'll have this session from NETSOL ready for on-demand viewing very shortly. You'll find an email in your inbox when it is ready to go. That's it for today. Everybody take care and stay safe. Thanks for joining us, and take care, everyone.